Well, welcome everybody to Halloween Haunts 365, the podcast. This is our first podcast. We cover mainly haunted attractions. We'll dive into horror, true crime, anything we find spooky going on. My name's Jared, founder and creator of HalloweenHaunts365.com. Our website we started about 6 years ago, and it's got a pretty huge following in the last couple of years. I'll introduce my wife and chief person officer for the website, because me dealing with people is usually pretty bad. So Terry, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
All right, while she's gooberly smiling, I'm going to introduce our first guest on the podcast. Her name's Niki, and she's the head volunteer for Haunted Overload that's located in Lee, New Hampshire. So feel free to say hi.
Hi.
And now we're going to take this time and grill her with a bunch of questions, because I'm nosy when it comes to haunt builders, haunt owners, and everything haunted attractions. So we'll start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I guess I've been a volunteer through and through my entire life, mostly with animals. I volunteer with wolves, and then my real job is working with animals, but a lot of that ends up being volunteer as well. And I volunteer with birds of prey. So part of the reason that I got involved with Haunted Overload is because I wanted to give back, as an exchange of Eric being so generous as to let me go there and do a photo shoot. So I ended up volunteering there, and it was a bonus that part of the proceeds of Haunted Overload goes to an animal shelter. So in one way or another, something I'm volunteering to do ends up helping animals. And so it just went hand in hand with what I want to be doing with my free time.
Yeah.
And I've always been the weird child. My mom didn't know what to do with me growing up. The first trip I made her go to Hot Topic in middle school, she didn't know what to do with me. And she's like, why can't you just be normal? And, of course, all things had to be Halloween all the time. So it was inevitable that I would end up working at a haunt someday.
Very cool. Very cool.
Nikki, how did your love for Halloween start?
I guess I don't really know exactly how it started. I just really loved the feeling of Halloween time, around here. And obviously all the jack-o'-lanterns are very mesmerizing, and dressing up was obviously a big deal to a little girl, and going out and collecting candy. What kid doesn't love to do that? And something that I started to notice as I was getting older is that each year less and less kids were out trick-or-treating, and Halloween was being more and more and more bombarded by Thanksgiving stuff is already on the shelves before Halloween even gets here, but Christmas gets a whole 3 months, and I hated that.
Right.
So as I got older and I started to get too old to trick-or-treat is when I really started to notice less people have their lights on, less people put as much effort into their decorations. It was just dying. As I was growing up, Halloween was dying. And you think maybe that's normal, you're growing up and you start to notice things a little more, but this was definitely, people stopped caring about trick-or-treaters and, the whole essence of Halloween. Not only that, but as I grew up, my parents were 80s metalheads, and so horror movies and stuff like that was just kind of a natural part of my childhood. Probably shouldn't have been. My auntie probably showed me a lot of horror movies I shouldn't have aged, but it turned out okay.
No, it's fine. My parents babysat me with Freddy Krueger, so it's the same. We turned out fine. It's
awesome.
We're fine. All right. So what is your position at Haunted Overload?
Well, it started as a builder because, as I said before, I offered to volunteer because he was so generous to let me just waltz around there and go shoot, not really knowing me at all. And I thought that was so cool of him to just put that trust in me and probably everybody else that contacts him about it, which is true now. I know that I've been there. But so I offered to volunteer, and I became like just kind of extra hands around, and then he kind of like threw me into some bigger projects just to see what my capabilities and interests were. And then he put me in charge of a humongous scene. It was redoing an entire scene. So I became like, one of the main builders, especially during the pandemic where I had nothing else to do. So I was there, 3-4 days a week. Sometimes we were there for 10 hours, sometimes longer. And then haunt season came and they were like, okay, you're going to act. And I was like, okay. So I actually became one of the characters that I rebuilt. I rebuilt the body bag scene and then became one of the body bags for haunt season. So I'm a builder and an actor. And then as the season gets closer, he's, really trying to get things done, and there's a lot of pressure. And so all these people start flocking to the haunt. They want tours, they want to interview, they want to do all these things. And he's like, here, Nikki, you do it. So now I help him do the tours and any kind of interviews that I can. Of course, people want to talk to him directly, but if I can help, I do. So I guess I've become an assistant of some kind.
I got you. What did you like better, haunt acting or haunt building?
It's hard to like make that comparison. I really like building. I'm a big fan of the Stan Winston School of Art. I love the Alien movies and Terminator and Predator and pretty much any movie, Jurassic Park. There's so many movies they've had a hand in terms of building actual, like you're looking at a thing that they've built, like a monster that they've built. And I always thought that was so cool. And I always thought like, man, if I had made some different life choices, I could be working for them. And it's kind of like small scale Stan Winston School of Art. And I actually prefer to do the build. It's nice to enjoy it at haunt season. That's like the icing on the cake. But being part of like these huge projects, and one of the coolest things is sometimes I don't have time to be there on the weekends because of my job. So I go after work on the weekdays and I'm at the haunt by myself at sunset making giant pumpkins, like by myself. So many people want that, to be there by themselves, and it's cool that I get to do that and just build pumpkins. And we're in the woods of New Hampshire. There's tons of nature, tons of birds, frogs, all kinds of stuff, which is like the other huge part of my life. So I get to, it's like therapy in a way. So I guess I like building better than acting.
I hear that a lot coming from the building crews. You want to take the next one, dear?
When did you start at Haunted Overload?
So I didn't find out. I knew about, okay, so a friend told me about Haunted Overload in 2018, but I think we just ran out of time because October is pretty crazy for me. And then it wasn't until 2019 that I went through the haunt, and it was such an inspiration to me that, like, walking through it for the first couple of minutes, I was, already thinking like, man, I would love to be a part of this. Like, I don't know how to just enjoy something and then like walk away from it and be like, oh, cool. I'm like, no, I'm obsessed with this. I need to make it my whole life now. So in my head, I was like, oh, they probably don't need help. There's probably people beating down the door to be part of this haunt. I was already like discouraging myself. Like, this is where Halloween went. All the things you love, they came here and you should be here. And I'm like, well, they probably don't have room. So I'm glad I didn't like let myself get in the way with that negative thinking, because I just reached out to Eric and then bam, became part of it. Because no, there is nobody beating down the door. We need help. We need actors. We need builders. Whoever wants to come by and help us for free, we will gladly accept it. So I started on my birthday, March 14th, 2020. And it was like, my first couple jobs were just raking lots of leaves, and he kept apologizing. And it's like, the gym is closed. I can't go hiking. Yoga is closed. I have no form of exercise. I will rake this whole 5-acre property. I don't care. I'm just glad to be here. So after like the first, month of figuring out where I would fit in, that's when he started putting me on big projects. So I would say by May, I was officially a builder.
Gotcha. Very
Nice.
cool. What are what's the biggest build you did that you consider your baby? Like you were 90% of the build, a huge percent of the build that you really just like. Halloween Haunts 365 is my baby. It was a dumb idea I had 7 years ago that just turned into so much more, and I still can't believe it, but I'm happy to do it. So what part of the walkthrough do you consider your baby?
Well, I would say it's probably the body bags. I spent 3.5 months. So I didn't build them. They're mannequins, but they were pretty beat up, and we pretty much removed them all from the scene, and we changed the entire scene around. And Eric does a lot of the work that's like, I can't. He's like, I don't know where he gets all his power from, but there's stuff that no one else can do but him, like moving giant, ridiculous things around and climbing super high ladders. So I did all like the technical stuff where I was basically redressing all of them and sort of helping him place them. And that's when we were there till like midnight, 1 a.m, working by work lights, climbing ladders and putting bodies in different places. And the body bag scene was always pretty cool, I thought, but it was totally different. It totally changed everything when we redid everything and I rewrapped all the bodies and came up with my own technique. I definitely had some help, but majority it was me rewrapping them all. And that year, they were featured everywhere. They were in everyone's photos. They were in music videos. Everyone who came and did a photo shoot, like on reviewers, they were like, and now people are copying our technique to the best of their ability, which is amazing. So I would say the body bags were my babies, and that's why it was pretty important for me to be a body bag person in that scene. And I would just stand there like the rest of them, and people would walk by and I would just have to move a little bit and they would like lose their minds because they look like real people and you just are waiting for one of them to do that. So that was pretty awesome. A lot of actors start in the body bag scene. Doing that kind of a scare is very easy and helps you get into like the feel of what it's like to do that kind of thing. But right after that, after the 3 months, and this was during April and May, like super cold, freezing, like working at night by lights with like a little space heater and tons of coffee. But I wouldn't change it, and for some reason I miss it. But right after that, we started on the Reapers, which was a huge new part of our queue line because we had to social distance and we didn't want people in the parking lot getting hit by cars, all kinds of stuff. So Eric built these, 12 to 15 foot Reapers, and then me and one of my now most awesome friends who I met started at the hunt a few months after me. She helped me dress the Reapers, but a lot of it was me going there after work because we did pick up at work eventually. And I would go and dress them. And that's when we started learning how to climb these crazy ladders because you're trying to dress, put hoods on 15-foot Reapers. So I would say the body bags and the Reapers, like when Eric will forward me pictures on Instagram of people posing with the Reapers, and it's like such a cool feeling, like I helped make those. Like I said, he does all the hard, heavy duty work. I just dress them, make them look cool.
I gotcha.
Out of all the scenes in the walkthrough, what's your favorite?
It's hard to pick, and he's adding more stuff this season and it's just making it even harder. But I would say if we're gonna go for like nostalgia, classic Halloween, like make you feel the way you did when you were little, I would say Pumpkin Alley, which is the photo I was trying to make my background, but it didn't work. Pumpkin Alley, which is just we carve hundreds of pumpkins a week, every week, 100 new pumpkins. We light them with real candles, and we have this big, giant, awesome, angry pumpkin with fog coming out of his mouth. Whenever I roam actors just check on fog machines and actors and make sure everyone's doing okay. I get to fill the fog machine for the big pumpkin. That's like my favorite thing to do when I'm roaming is check on the big pumpkin.
I can check on that big pumpkin for you because I'm obsessed with fog and smelling it and breathing it in. And my face mask may came down a few times last season just to really get, because it doesn't feel like haunt season until I fill the lungs with fog. So I love fog. I love more fog. I love too much fog.
We have quite a few fog machine stations, and the Big Pumpkin and the one by the Reapers were kind of like my sort of responsibility when I would roam. So I would say Pumpkin Alley, or which is one of the photos I actually sent you with the purple. That's by the castle, so you see that when you're waiting in line, you're not even in the haunt yet. And then the other photo I sent you with all the other bright pumpkins, that's the cornfield. That's the other one that has like just those classic Halloween vibes. Like it's got all the, the corn stalks. It's got just pumpkins everywhere. They're not real pumpkins and they don't have real lights, but you can't tell. It's like we put the flickering lights in there, and it's amazing with the sounds and everything else. So I would say those are probably two of my favorite scenes. And then last season we made the church wild. Like the walls glow. Our demonic nun has her own fog machine now, and she has her own soundtrack in there. Like you enter the church and it's like you're somewhere else for a second. It's pretty cool. And we have a black goat in there with her, so it's just like sensory overload in there. So that's everyone's favorite scene, is usually the mansion or the church.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Tell us a little bit about the history of Haunted Overload.
All right, so I had to, you know how much homework I did last night, making sure I got this down accurate. It's a lot. So when Eric was 12 years old, I remember him. So a lot of times we'd be at the haunt, pretty late at night. It would end up just being me and him working. Like when we worked on the Reapers, a lot of times it was just me and him, and we'd be exhausted, and it would be like a half an hour of just me asking him a billion questions. And I remember him telling me when he was little, he started a little mini haunt with his friend in his friend's basement, and he also did it at his parents' house, and I think he said his grandparents' house as well. And he actually did a little interview in 2015, I believe, where he talks about it, how when they had their first scares as 12-year-olds in their friend's basement, they were like immediately hooked. So it was a few years of that, doing small things like that at his parents' house. And then fast forward to 2001, he got his first house with his wife, Janice. And he wanted to have like the biggest Halloween party like ever in the history of Halloween. He built a giant scarecrow, and of course it attracted all these people. And it became a pretty big deal where he was kind of like, okay, like people really do like this. So I'm going to keep it going. So the following year, he went for a 30-foot monster, which is just so Eric of him. And he had machinery come by and sink these poles into his yard to make this 30-foot monster. And over the next few years, so many people were coming that they were able to put out a donation box and start a fundraiser for animals that didn't have homes. So that kind of became the thing where like he gets to live out his passion, do this haunt, and the fundraiser thing was like an added bonus. So in 2006, the haunt got too big, and basically it was becoming like dangerous with the cars and everything else, and the cops were kind of like, you can't do this. So his choice was to either stop or try to make it into a business. And so he took the leap, and he went to Copple House Farm, and he was there for 3 years. They had a really good 3 years there, but I don't know the exact reason. I'm sure I was told and I've just forgotten, but they had to move. They could no longer be at Copple House. And so in 2010, they moved to the Demerit Hill Farm, which is where they are now. So reading my notes here, it says they eventually, once they moved to Demerit Hill Farm, they officially became a world-class haunted attraction. So like they're, this huge deal. So I have this awesome list of cool things that they've accomplished. In 2014, they won ABC's Great Halloween Fright Fight. They won $50,000 and they donated it to the Echo Valley Humane Society. And at the time, they were in like this really rundown building. I think it used to be like a slaughterhouse or like a pig slaughterhouse or something wild like that, like converted into a shelter. So they didn't have a lot of space. And with that $50,000, they were able to open a brand new, beautiful facility, which they are still expanding on today because of our donations. So that was like huge. for everyone involved.
Yeah.
He told me before this, I was like, hey, is there anything else I should be mentioning that we were like talked about on, throughout the years since we've been at Demerit Hill? And he's like, in 2012, we were featured on the Weather Channel. So that's pretty funny. And then in 2015, they won #1 haunt in America on Haunt World, which I think is probably the biggest thing, right next to being able to donate all that money to Cocheco Valley. So the coolest thing, in my opinion, about the haunt is because it is a giant haunt, but because we're all volunteers, we're treated like family, and it is a family, and it's never about business. And a huge chunk of our profits go to the farm, who gets to stay open an extra month because of the haunt being there. And the other huge chunk goes to the shelter still. And even during COVID last year, we were just shy, I think, of $50,000 because our day haunt went through the roof. So we offer the day haunt and the night haunts. And the day haunts are usually kind of busy, but I guess last year there was over 1,000 people most days.
Wow.
Which is more than, because people were bored, they had nothing to do. And so the day haunt is what saved us, because we did have to reduce capacity because of COVID. So the day haunt more than made up for that. And we were still able to donate a huge amount of money. And I think that they actually did expand since getting that check. So, and they help us. So a lot of the Cocheco Valley staff come and volunteer to work the day haunts so that they can take tickets while people visit. So it's just this amazing community. Everyone's helping everyone, and it's all for animals and to be scared.
I love it. I like it. It sounds awesome.
Tell us about a day in your life at the haunt during the off season.
During the off season, it depends. So in winter, we do a lot of breaking down. Like last season, there was a couple buildings that were about to fall over. They've been up for 5 years or more, and the wear and tear of people coming through. So we did a lot of demolition, which was really fun. During the actual winter time, that was November, but when it starts snowing, Eric has a workshop in the basement of his house, and me and a few others would go over there every Monday and start working on projects that take a lot of time. For example, we have 30 skeletons for our new scene, and me and Eric and Wallace have been working on them since New Year's, and they're still not done. Same with our giant for our new pumpkin monsters, because a lot of it is you do the details, things have to dry, you move to something else, you go back and forth. So there is probably about 6 projects going throughout the winter in the workshop, and then finally we moved all those projects over to the haunt. So a lot of it is focusing on small details during the winter. Now is starting to be crunch time, so now we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off. We're trying to tie up a lot of loose ends, and the weather keeps screwing us over. My pumpkins won't dry because it's so humid and hot, and it's just constantly raining. And Eric's breaking the auger, so now he's got to dig holes by hand. It's just one thing after another. When it rains, it pours, but we will get it done somehow. So right now it starts to get a little crazy, and then the week before we open, Eric takes the week off, and me and Wallace will do the same, and we'll be over there just instead of, now it goes from paying attention to little details and being very specific to just it is what it is, make it look great, make sure it's not going to fall on somebody, and we have to open. So it's a lot of running around and just tying up a lot of stuff, getting ready. Last year we were still fixing things in the first week we were open. It was kind of insane. But I guess that's so.
Yeah, a little light can hide a lot.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it no one notices except for us.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, we'll notice it just because we know what goes into it, but we never say anything.
Yeah, you'll notice too. Yeah.
Tell us about a day in your life when the haunt is open and running.
So it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm acting and I'm specific to a scene. So last year, most of our actors have a designated scene or area where they kind of stay. So we usually show up an hour before we open. The whole idea is that we don't want patrons to see us in costume waltzing around. So we try to get inside the haunt and ready to go before cars start pulling into the parking lot. So really an hour prior to opening. The farm serves us food, so we're eating and all that stuff. Me, I don't do any of that. I show up sort of kind of late, and then I'm like running around and trying to like get my costume was a disaster. My body bag costume, I was basically building it from scratch every night, which was such a pain. I'm so glad I'm not doing that this year. But it's also kind of crazy because we'll have people coming through we had like a guy do like a virtual thing where he was going through the haunt like he was a patron. So there was a few camera guys doing that a lot of different nights. So we had to be alert and ready for them like 10 minutes before we open. And then we have photographers coming through. So it's like the patrons come through, you have to be in character, and then you have a time to relax, and then the camera guy comes through, and then you're like, oh, I have to get in character again. I didn't walking through. So you got to stay on your feet. So, me throwing myself into that, I had no idea what to expect. So by the last 2 weekends, I was like, I kind of had it down to a system. For Fright Night Light, we don't have actors. It's just full lights and music and sounds for people who want to see it but don't like being scared. So for that, I'm just in my work clothes and I'm just making sure stuff is going smoothly. If lights are out somewhere, I either get someone to fix it or I fix it, or fog machine duty. And maybe if you have family or friends coming through, you kind of like meet up with them really quick and then disappear back into the staff. We have little staff pathways where no one can see us running back and forth. And then, so this year I'm going to be a roamer so that I can continue to do behind the scenes stuff while also scaring. So I have no idea how that's going to be, because usually if I'm doing behind the scenes stuff during haunt season, I'm not in costume. I just look like somebody visiting, or they notice I have a staff shirt and they know that I'm staff. I've never been a roamer in terms of being in costume and filling fog machines and doing all this stuff. So that's going to be new for me to figure out, but I think that will probably be my permanent actor position from now on, because I'm so involved with the build that I'm just going to be that much more helpful as a roamer. It was funny. I was like, I don't know who I'm going to be this year. And Eric was like, you're going to be a roamer. I was like, oh, okay.
You were volunteering.
Yes,
Enjoy the roaming.
Yeah. I kind of like it because when spots kind of get dead for a minute, you can kind of roam to somewhere else where like you hear lots of screaming. You can get patrons multiple times by cutting through scenes. So you can kind of follow around the same group of friends. Like if you know they're a jumpy group, you can follow them. And they're like, how did you get here so fast? Like, we have cut throughs, duh. But so that's going to be a new thing for me to figure out, being in costume, scaring, and doing behind the scenes stuff, helping out with fog machines and everything else. So we're open rain or shine. So a lot of issues we run into is pouring rain and plugs stop working and lights go out and stuff like that. That only happened sort of kind of once last year. And I was in the body bags, so I just had to stand there. I didn't have to do anything. So I haven't thrown into that chaos yet. So this year is going to be a whole different learning experience.
I gotcha. I have how much do the fire marshals get involved since you're completely outdoors? I'm wondering what New Hampshire's like with the fire marshals and the haunt.
So we have to have them walk through before we open a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And anything they don't like, we have to change it and comply. That's why we have the fake pumpkins and the fake lights inside of the cornfield, because that's technically inside the haunt, whereas Pumpkin Alley is on the very outside. So they let us get away with candles there, but like the whole place is flammable. Right. So we made little fire extinguisher stations. They look like little baby Grim Reapers, and we had to make sure each scene has an extinguisher. there's all kinds of protocols we have to follow. And we also have to be careful about our fog machines too, because if the wind takes it and it goes into the street, we're kind of on a sharp, we're kind of not a sharp curve, but we're on a big curve and people bomb around the corner. So he's already had to deal with an issue where somebody probably wasn't paying attention, bombing around the corner, and someone was pulling out without headlights and they got hit. So, you know, they tried to blame it on the fog. So we just have to make sure we're very careful that the fog isn't going out into the street. I'm not sure if the fire marshals have anything to do with that, but it's just one of those things we have to be mindful of. So fire extinguishers, fake pumpkins inside the haunt, making sure that the fog doesn't get into the street. There's a lot of safety stuff. And the other thing that's not just fire safety is like we're in the woods and like there's tree roots everywhere. And of course people show up annihilated drunk and then they're tripping everywhere and they're knocking people over. And that's kind of a whole different issue. But
well, there's going to be someone not drunk tripping all over the ground.
yeah, that's me. That's me. I do that. So we've been very lucky. Everyone's been really cool about it because it's a haunt in the woods. And, you know, the more bigger we get, the more people that come through, the higher of a risk it is. So yeah, we do have to comply with the fire marshals, but they're cool. They think it's great. I'm pretty sure Eric said that they come through when we're open too. So
that's good because like I understand the hardships they give haunted attractions because like us based in Pennsylvania, Jersey, there's things you could do in PA that you cannot do in Jersey because a lot of it's indoor, outdoor. Yeah. I just like hearing the different stories about the fire marshals because some aren't as nice as other places, but some are really cool. But like I get their job, so I don't get mad at them.
Yeah, I mean they're just doing what they have to do. If this was in Massachusetts, none of this would fly.
Really?
Like oh yeah, Massachusetts. And a lot of times it's for a good reason that they have the laws to be so strict. But yeah, if the haunt was in Massachusetts, I think we'd be totally screwed.
I got
you. It would be no fun allowed, basically. So it's good that it's in New Hampshire. They're just like, do whatever you want. Don't light the place on fire. We're like, okay, cool. See you in October.
That's awesome. All right, dear, I'm going to take this one because not only are we a haunt review website, we also deal with horror, true crime, everything I find spooky or interesting, we're going to cover. So now is a very important question. What is your favorite horror movie?
I had to think long and hard about this. I'm going to have to say my favorite horror movie was Nosferatu because it's a classic and it's an original. Obviously it's not the original vampire story, you know, but in terms of vampire movies, like coolest thing ever, on Halloween a couple of years ago, I got to see Nosferatu on the big screen with the Boston Pops playing symphony orchestra to it. It was the most wild experience. It sounds so lame, but it was a cool thing, like to be alive now and be seeing a silent film in the theater with a live orchestra, like that movie. Who cares about that movie besides me? No one. So it was really cool that they did that. They do Halloween movies every year, but that one year they did that one, and I was like, oh my god, we have to go see this.
Yeah.
So for horror and monsters, I would have to. I'm always gonna go towards the vampire aspect of things. But
as long as they don't have shiny skin that sparkle in the sunlight, right?
No.
Well, since this is our first episode, I'm going to tell you my favorite is Freddy Krueger, without a doubt. I'd be the biggest nerd ever if they put that back in the theater, because I would go fully dressed. So
I'm shocked they haven't.
I've seen it local, but it's always during times where we can't make it. Like, we make no plans in September, October, because it's haunt. Some last year we were doing 2 a night. It gets tiring.
Yeah, it does.
Wow. So, okay, I have a question for you.
Oh,
do you consider the Alien franchise to be considered a type of horror, because that's like a controversial thing amongst my friends. They say no.
For me,
I say
I'm
yes.
saying I'm gonna side with the friends and say no.
No.
Would you say would you say it's more of like a sci-fi, like I don't know, sci-fi thriller?
It's definitely a sci-fi horror. That's where I get, but it's 90% sci-fi to 10% horror. Even though it does have a lot of horror aspects, I consider it more sci-fi.
Okay, I like that answer.
I agree. What's your, do you have a top horror villain?
Oh my God. Everyone who's watching this or going to watch this is going to make fun of me. So my favorite horror villain is Ghostface. Pretty much has been since I was 13. Probably I was 13 when I first saw Scream. He's not the scariest villain, but you know, he like calls up girls and flirts with them, and it's Billy Loomis and he's hot. And if that was the only Scream, if they never made any other Scream, if that was the only one, it would have been amazing. So I would have to say my top villain is Ghostface, but Jason comes in a close second.
Okay. Now, Scream, I absolutely love, and I love the entire franchise because I don't know if you were old enough to remember, horror was in a terrible place. Freddy stopped, Jason stopped, these little Asian horrors started, like the Japanese films, the remakes started, and they were terrible. I can't stand any one of them. But then Wes Craven got a hold of a script the dude made in a weekend, and he brought horror back on the screen. Like in the first Scream, you have no idea who did it. So it was not only a horror, it was a mystery because they kept setting everyone up. They set the principal up, they set Randy up, they even set Tatum up. If you watch it deep enough, any one of them can be the killer. So I loved it. I mean, 2 was good, 3, it was entertaining, but I really liked 4 too.
See, that's interesting because I watched 4 and I only watched 4 like you know, when it came out, and I barely remembered it. And then I watched it again and I was like, that didn't really have like the Scream feeling to it. I liked 2 and 3, but that's just because it's more chances to see Ghostface no matter who's in the costume. So I was actually Ghostface the year that I became too old to trick or treat, around 12, 13, is when I was Ghostface. I was him 2 years in a row. So I actually still have the masks from 20 years ago. It's like, you know, and it's like I kind of like lost, I would go on and off. Like I'd go through a Ghostface Scream obsession and then it would fall out, and then I'm back to Jason. And then, you know, sort of recently in the last couple of years, I've been back on Ghostface, and now the anniversary is coming and they're making another one and the whole thing. And I'm just like, this is literally the best. So, so my friends actually, my friend Mark, he works for the Coolidge Theater in Boston, and he is going to hopefully put Scream in the theater, which is going to be like my dream come true. But when he does it, we're going to get to dress up as Ghostface like in Scream 2. This is like all I've wanted my whole life.
That's awesome.
It's going to be so cool. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate what happened after Scream, because then everyone got the idea to copy Scream, and a lot of movies like it came out. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I can see why people were like annoyed about Scream, because it started a whole new genre of like copycats. Yeah. But instead of like mad about it, it's like, okay, so they were inspired. Okay, that's how art happens. Like, I don't know. So I think it did great things for the horror genre, and we can't take that credit, like, or not the horror genre, but like
it did. It really brought horror to the 2000s
slasher films, and I feel like we can't credit from it. Yeah, like who knows what would have happened if they never made it.
Right.
We might not care. We might this.
I want to say Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell was 95, 94. And then The Last Nightmare on Elm Street was 94. Freddy's Dead. Because that was September 13th, 1994. Boom. I know. I'm a nerd.
I was 7 years old.
I was 12. Yeah, I think I was 12. Maybe I got to do the math. It doesn't matter. But after those two were done, Michael
World.
Myers was in a whole different world. And that went a
Yeah.
weird direction too. So really the big three were done. So without Scream, who knows what we'd be looking at right now. So I find it
I
important.
actually just met them at Monster Mania. They were awesome.
I saw the pictures. Yeah, I was jealous.
They are still riding high on a movie in 1996. It blows my mind.
They all are. Like not just those two. Like there's like secondary actors that are riding high from movies from the 80s, and they're there every year, and their lines out the door. It's good for them. I can tell you they don't have any rom-com manias where people care about. No.
No,
All comes
I
down to
noticed that.
horror.
It's just horror.
Yep. That's where the true fans are. So you might have kind of answered this already, but what's your favorite horror franchise as a total?
I'm gonna go with Jason because it's not that I don't like Michael Myers. So many people are gonna hate me for saying this. I just always thought he was kind of boring. Like after the first initial appearance of him, like yeah, he was awesome, and then he got boring, and it's like I don't have any attachment to him. Jason was like a victim. Like yeah, he's killing everybody, but he's a victim. He was a little kid and he drowned because his counselors were too busy like fooling around to pay attention to this special needs kid basically that's drowning and now has a fear of water. And like not for nothing, but any mom would go to extreme lengths to, defend their kid, especially if they drowned at a camp. So it's kind of like relatable to like it's like over exaggerated real life. And now it's just like don't come to my camp and fool around because I'm going to kill you. Just stay away and everything will be fine. And they just basically, it's like they keep antagonizing him and messing with him. And if they just left him alone, he wouldn't be killing anybody. So you don't feel bad for the victims. You're like, you want Jason to kill them. Like in these other slashers, you kind of like want the victims to survive. You want them to fight against it. You want to find out who the killer is. This one, you're like, no, it's fine. He can slaughter them all across the camp. Like you get excited for him. So there's some sort of emotional attachment there to like poor Jason, like, this poor guy just wants to be left alone. So he's kind of like adorable in a way. So I've always loved the Jason series, especially for when part 6 became a thing, because like I love graveyards. It starts with a graveyard. It's just so beautifully done. It's such a good movie.
Part 6 will always be the ultimate Jason movie because A, the actor was great. B, they actually set up the cast and you cared about the counselors. They actually had counselors. And there's kids at the camp. Like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
You never had that. The cool thing
is it's like he interacts with a kid as Jason.
I know.
It's wild. Someone actually, when I went to MonsterCon, someone actually asked him because I met CJ Graham. It was before MonsterCon, unrelated, but we went to Jimmy's event. He did Friday the 13th, and we had a Q&A with CJ Graham. And someone actually asked, like, how did that affect that little girl, like you being like dressed as Jason, like standing over her bed like that? And he said that I think it was like her son or something. They sent him masks to sign to give to her kid. So it's like, obviously she's just fine and she thought it was awesome instead of being like traumatized by it. So I thought that cool.
There is someone in this room traumatized by Jason Voorhees.
Yes, I am.
Oh no.
I am. I freak out every time I see him.
Oh my God. That's funny.
I scream.
I see him and I get so excited. Like we were in line waiting once we were inside I never thought in my lifetime I would be seeing real Jason, CJ Graham's Jason from part 6 pointing at me from the other side of a glass door with his weapon, like in real life, looking at me. It was just like the coolest thing ever.
I would have died.
Do you want to tell the
Oh
Brighton
my
Asylum
God.
story there, dear?
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember it. I had tunnel vision. I remember seeing the mom standing there. And then next thing you know, he grabbed me like he was going to pull me into the water over a bridge. And I started kicking and screaming like bloody, like having a fit. And he finally let me go. I took off and I collapsed at the end of the bridge, crying, hysterical.
So would you never like canoe over like a lake, like Crystal Lake? Like that's not really Crystal Lake, but like the lake. Would you be like, no, you can go by yourself?
Yeah. One of my friends, the tour there, and I'm like, nope, can't do it. Can't do it. I don't care if it's daytime, nighttime, I can't do it.
Did you guys, I'm sure you guys know, but they have a Jason that's like changed to the bottom of a lake somewhere. You have to be like certified scuba diver to go down and look at them, just chilling there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
I
doing,
send her that picture all the time.
not doing
Yeah.
that. Mm-mm. I am
I'm not
petrified.
doing that.
Oh, that's
Wow.
funny.
Yeah,
I
my
mean, he's doing his job.
He's doing his job, dear.
Yeah.
All right, so bringing
Nice.
it back to the haunted attractions, because that's the main thing of our website. Working at a haunt, it's hard to get the others, but do you have another favorite haunted attraction outside of Haunted Overload?
So I was like, man, when I answer this question, all these people watching are going to be like, she's not a real haunt person. I went to Spooky World 1,000 years ago and I barely remember it. One haunt that I really want to go to really badly is the Headless Horseman, just because I'm obsessed with the Headless Horseman. And I've never been, I've heard good things about it. We have people who work for the haunt, like our sound people and even our actors and stuff. We'll go to other haunts. A lot of them work. We have Spooky World actors come work for us. Same thing with Fright Kingdom and Barrett's as well. So the only one I've been to, I might have been to Fright Kingdom again, but I was like so little, I feel like it doesn't count unless I've been as like a grown ass adult where I can remember what I'm doing. So I'm going to Spooky World on Sunday to get a tour to see, because one of the guys who helps us with sound at the haunt, at our Haunted Overload, is building like basically an asylum style scene or something at Spooky World. So I'm gonna go get a tour, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I forgot all about half of this. So I really do want to go to the Headless Horseman and see what that's like. I would love to do like travel around and visit other haunts during haunt season, but it's just so hard because they're only open when we're open. And I feel, I'm not gonna like work that hard all year to lead up to haunt season. We're only open for 4 weekends and take off and go to other haunts. So maybe I'll try to do like 2 a year. I can maybe make that a goal. But I would love to see them. I was actually talking to a guy who his name is I think it's Haunted House or something like that. It's HAUS on Instagram. He started following me because of Haunted Overload, and I had something in my story about bats. So he told me about his friend who has a place where they have bats in captivity for education and their rescues. There's like, they have a petition thing going on. But anyways, so I was going to go try and visit these bats. And so he has a haunt out there. So I was going to visit his haunt, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And also Sleepy Hollow is 20 minutes from all that. So I've never been to Sleepy Hollow, which is crazy to think about. But so I'm going to make I'm going to visit his haunt, see the bats, and go to Sleepy Hollow all in the same, hopefully, weekend, maybe in September. And then I want to go to the Headless Horseman, and I will see Spooky World on Sunday. So
Very cool. Very
I don't
cool.
have anything to compare to yet, but I'm going to assume Haunted Overload is probably the best.
If you could travel anywhere in the world, what haunted attraction would you want to go see?
I don't really know enough of them to know what I'm missing. If there was like some wild haunt and like I'm like a northerner through and through. I'm obsessed with Scandinavian countries. I'm obsessed
Oh.
with anywhere north. If there was something in the middle of nowhere, Norway, I'd go. Or I'm sure they don't have haunts there, but
Never
or
know.
even like Canada if they had something there, because
I said you
Say
would
what?
never know. Maybe.
I know I would have to look it up. But as
Honestly,
far
I think I've read of one in Norway.
I would go in 10 seconds.
I know Ireland has one. We actually did like a remote review for them.
Yeah.
They only
Yeah.
have one, but Ireland's still completely shut down from COVID, so they're not even allowed
Yeah.
in there to build.
I actually do know a guy in California who works at a haunt out there. I can't think of the name of it, but I would go to Cali to check out a haunt over there too. I think they're all amazing. The fact that any of them are trying to keep Halloween alive and they're all putting the work they put into it is honorable, especially now that I do it and I know how hard it is, especially when the weather does not cooperate. And all the money, time, and work and just legal stuff that goes into it, like when I heard about the fog incident, I was like, I never even thought of that. There's just so many things you don't think about that goes into it.
Right.
But yeah, I would go anywhere, but first and foremost, if I had the opportunity, I'd go some crazy spooky foreign, like, is this a haunt or am I really screwed right now? And I'm not
I got it.
that'd be cool.
There.
Do you see yourself one day starting your own attraction?
No, because I don't know how Eric has a normal life and does this. He somehow balances work and marriage and a social life of some kind, maybe, and the haunt. And I am happy to just continue helping this haunt, and hopefully it lives on and on and on forever. And I'll continue to build until I'm like 100 and can't climb a ladder anymore. And if it doesn't last that long, hopefully I could find another. But I don't know, maybe that was my cats. So thank you. So maybe if I'm at the haunt for 10 years, maybe I'll think differently in 10 years and maybe I'll try to start my own. That girl Morgan I actually mentioned earlier that helped me with the Reapers, she's doing her own home haunt this year, but she's really struggling to even get it off the ground because she's doing Haunted Overload, her regular job, and just she's also married and she has like her personal life and family life and her husband, she's got to balance all that too. So it's hard. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. So, but yeah, no, I don't plan on doing anything that's going to take any of my free time or focus away from Haunted Overload, because now I'm so invested and just obsessed with all of it that I don't want anything taken away from that. Maybe I'll be sick of it in 5 years. I don't know. I doubt it. That's just not my personality. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still Ghostface.
The haunt
I
bug
was
doesn't go.
13 when I found out. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's such a special place that I don't think I could ever replicate that. And it's like my home now. So I don't really need to start my own haunt when I have that,
I gotcha. All right. We have taken enough shots at you tonight. I'm going to have you take a few minutes to shout out anyone you want to talk about, plug any of your social media, tell us anything else we should know about you. So go ahead.
This is the part I didn't prepare for. I guess, you know what, I could try and promote Morgan. Her Instagram name is Dark Hollow, with all kinds of underscores. She is an amazing painter. She paints all the spooky stuff. She paints crazy ravens. Her artwork is unbelievable. She does amazing stuff with me at the haunt. If it wasn't for her, I don't think those Reapers would look the way they look in time. She totally saved us when she came along, and now she's trying to get her own home haunt off the ground, which is amazing. So I guess I would promote her. And I don't know. Shout out to everyone in Haunts Overload. Love you. That's all.
Do you want to throw your Instagram and TikToks on there, or
Oh,
yeah,
oh
ton
God,
of work
TikTok.
coming out of your TikTok?
So, okay, I made a TikTok, and Eric loves TikTok, and we would make fun of him all the time. Like everything, he puts so much time into setting stuff up for TikTok. He's all about it. He's so enthusiastic. And I'm like, whatever, TikTok is dumb. So I had a TikTok, but I would like upload videos for only me to see. And then I would just use them because it puts music on it. And then he's like, why don't you just put them like on the TikTok? And I was like, all right, fine, I guess. So I put up this video of the Satanic Temple of Salem with Baphomet in the background for like 2 seconds. He's in it. And I'm still going viral today. That was May 2020 that I posted that. That's the only reason I have followers, because people are arguing about religion on my post still. So there it is. So
Oh, boy.
Instagram is Carpathian_wolves. And I think my TikTok is the same. I don't even know. But yeah, my Instagram is a mess. I do a lot. It's like I have birds of prey, the wolves, the hunt, modeling. I do some modeling. I try to promote my job. We do live animal programs with rescued animals on in the New England area. And I'm a hiker, put a lot of hiking. I explore abandoned places like abandoned hospitals and stuff. And I have all that on there. And I'm a wildlife photographer. So some of that too. So there, it's like something new every day. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah,
I guess.
that sounds great. That sounds great.
Oh, and I guess I should shout out to Jimmy J, because he's the one who got us acquainted.
Yes, I will shout out their podcast because I was actually on there too. It's Horror 365. The name's familiar. We were here first. I busted their chops about that on the podcast. But those two are great guys. I mean, and that's what I do this for, is really the community that comes with the haunts. Like I met a Jason cosplayer because I wanted something for my website. We ended up talking. He starts a podcast. I meet Jimmy. Now I'm talking to you about one of the top haunts in the country. So it's just, that's why I do this. I mean,
cool.
There's a lot of people that do haunt review groups for different reasons, and we're not that kind. So
yeah,
we want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's really appreciated. Sorry you're our test victim.
Yeah, thank you for having
Let's see if this even works. Hey, we'll find out, because I learned how to do this today, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we do this for work, and I still can't figure it out, obviously. So whatever. I don't think any of us know what we're doing. It's fine.
That's all right.
Yeah, roll with the punch.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to the YouTube family and the podcast and everything. Nikki, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
This will be a weekly thing eventually. We're in the middle of closing on a house. We're going to see how this looks on YouTube. I have no idea how it works or how to edit videos, but we're going to learn, just how I learned how to make a website 7 years ago. So thank you guys for watching. Come back as soon as we have another one. We're going to have a lot more interviews. We're going to have some owners come on. We have a call scheduled with another haunt review crew who, they came over, we met, we talk, and we like what each other does. So we want to do a joint call, see what we're looking forward to this season. We've got haunt actors ready. We've got haunt builders ready. We've got other people that review haunts for us across the country ready. So we have a lot of content coming to this channel. So make sure you bring it back here weekly. And that's all I got for you today. Have a good day.
Bye.